Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's Zola.com.
Hello to our viewers. This is your girl, Gabrielle, from A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. Welcome to Hot Topics. We are at episode 10. Oh, the big 10. This is so awesome. And Hot Topics, in case you don't know by now, it's a series where we talk about education, employment, psychology, finances, or whatever else themey. So today our topic is about having a baby in the pandemic. And I have a guest with me who is going to help me talk about that. Her name is Jaciann Wright. And let me tell you about Jaciann. So she is a 25-year-old married single mom. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm putting that's a story worth hearing. So she's Jamaican born and raised halfway American. All right, fellow West Indian. Awesome. She holds a BS in mathematics, class of 2016. So smart scholars allowed her to graduate 1 year early from college. Oh, okay. She studied a summer semester in Spain. She's currently a relief manager at Public Storage. She's a small business owner of 2 small businesses. She aspires to achieve her doctorate. Her life goal is to retire at age 40 to generate financial freedom and wealth, creating an easier path for her daughter, showing her that the world is filled with endless opportunities. In that same light, also mentor upcoming entrepreneurs. All right, Jaciann, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so let's get right to it. So when we talked about having a baby in the pandemic, and I'm sure that was an experience to say the least.
Oh, an experience is the least.
Yeah. So please tell us your story.
To begin, I was already considered high risk in pregnancy, so that alone was in itself stressful. I was put on bed rest 16 weeks into pregnancy. That was around January. So I was on bed rest early on, and to say, I always joke around and say I was already in quarantine before everybody else. Fast forwarding to around March, when I was finally slowly getting off of bed rest a little, And I will never forget, I was in the city celebrating my best friend's birthday, and that's when everything just started where you have to where they're saying, hey, shut down everything. By then we were already planning my baby shower, and then as things progressed, I had to unfortunately cancel my shower. That I thought that was heartbreaking until the latter started to happen. And just going to doctor visits where her dad, he wasn't able to come. My mom, no one could come with me. I was doing all these visits alone. I'm a first time mom. It's not exciting anymore. So that started to kick in where it's like, oh my God, like I'm really doing this alone in a sense, because the world wouldn't allow me to do it with anybody else. Then they started to try to switch to telehealth. So now I'm trying to do everything virtually. Now, okay, we could skip this ultrasound. So I didn't get as much pictures as I wanted to get, as you how you imagine becoming a mom for the first time, getting all these pictures at all these different stages. I couldn't enjoy that. So so everything just started to sink in itself. And then I went into labor early. Oh, I'm sorry, let me backtrack. So I originally wanted to do a home birth. Oh, there she goes. I originally wanted to do a home birth. So coincide with my doctor, I had a doula. And I started to see her through telehealth, and as things progressed, where they were saying, well, you can't have a spouse or you can have someone. And it was a lot of back and forth. And it was to the point where I'll never forget where it was an anatomy scan and I just lost them. Like, someone has to come with me. This is crazy. Like, someone else have to be there to experience this with me. Like, this is my first job. I envisioned this so many different ways. And my doctor was so nice enough to allow my mom to tag along. So my mom was there to experience that with me, to see the different body parts. So for that, I was grateful. Shout out to Women's Pavilion. They're amazing practice, I must say. But yeah, so fast forward to when I went into labor early, and it was between who's gonna come, because at that point I didn't know who I was gonna have there, because originally I had to do a home birth, so it was gonna be my best friend, my mom, and her dad, and the home birth just went right through the door, because it's between my doula and her father. Who's gonna be there? And I unfortunately had to throw that part out, and it was to the point where I wanted to also keep my placenta. I couldn't do that either, because once you're in, and no one else you can have anybody else to come in. Went into labor early, 33 weeks, spontaneously. When I got there, at that point they were doing COVID testing for both parents. So when I got there, fun fact, they did my COVID test. My test came back positive. Her dad came back negative. So this is where the false positive kind of chipped in. She's being born premature. I can't see her, but he can, but yet he's around me. So that kind of, it was a mental walk for me. It took a while, because she was in the hospital for 8 days. And for those 8 days, I could not see my daughter. I couldn't hold her. I had to be looking at her through the tablet. So those 8 days were, I will say, the hardest 8 days of my life. It definitely took a mental toll on me altogether. It was rough. It was hard. I was pumping milk for a child that I can't see. I couldn't do the skin to skin. So everything that I imagine as a mom, becoming a mom, it just went right through the window. And it was just something I can't explain. I just don't just imagine, like, even like now when I sit and I listen to like my coworkers and they talk about, when they have their baby and they're in the hospital with them for the first few days, I can't share that. I don't have that experience to share. I could only share, hey, I was false positively tested for COVID. No one else around me was tested positive. I went back, I tested 2 days after I was negative, but yet they wouldn't allow me in the hospital. Wrote a letter, nothing came out of that. But here we are a year later. I'm grateful she's alive and she's healthy. She didn't test positive for COVID. But going forward to even with her doctor's visit. It was only one parent. So a lot of things in that moment, it wasn't what I imagined. I want a lot of do-overs, wishful thinking, but it was rough. It was definitely rough. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. I never thought that it would hit me as much as it hit me as far as just the experience, because that's something you want to share with everyone. Baby shower got canceled. All right, can't celebrate that in a party. Then when you look at it, you can't have the birth you had planned because of a pandemic. And then I got said positive for something that I know I didn't have, because there's no way I tested positive and no one else around me is positive. And then I went back 2 days after to get retested and I was negative. So I felt like I was cheated. So the so then that's the argument between the rapid test and the PCR. How does that, what's valid? Which one makes sense? And I felt that in that moment, being that I'm her mom, I went back and I got retested the proper way, because they said the PCR is the one that's more accurate. It was negative. I should have been allowed to see my daughter. She was premature. And that also leads to me not being able to breastfeed. For 8 days, she was getting my milk, but she was getting it from a bottle. So when she came home.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's Zola.com.
It was hard for her to latch. So she never latched fully all the way. And I had to give her a bottle. Another thing where I felt like I failed as a mom. I felt like I could have done something better. And it took a lot. Postpartum depression did kick in a little bit, but thank God I have a very good support system, and I was already in therapy before that. So that it slowly passed. But it definitely did a number. I tell you that much. It did. It's rough, and I don't ever want to have to live through anything like that again. Yeah.
So that was a lot.
Oh yeah.
A lot. And then you had to do the end of your pregnancy just as COVID was coming to the United States, and you're in New York, right?
Yes, I'm in New York.
So just
we were in oh my God.
We're both in New York, and then the shutdown started to happen around March. So coming to the end of your pregnancy, and just
it was right there. It was crazy. Photo shoot. My photo shoot was scheduled for like April. It was everything. It just tumbled. And thank God a lot of the vendors that I already booked, they were generous enough to be understanding. They gave me back refunds. But it was just the fact that, oh my God, like none of this could happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hear you a lot. Like, I don't even know the word. Like, it's a lot. You had all these plans, and I think it's pretty common around everyone. Like, you have all these plans, and then it just kind of flipped upside down.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So what was that like for you to have all these things set just for an act of, I don't want to say an act of God, but like something outside of us just flipped everything upside down?
Well, to be honest with you, it actually helped me in a sense, because I'm a planner. That's what I do. I don't know if being a Virgo have anything to do with this, but I like to see things through all the way before it happens. And if it doesn't happen how it's supposed to plan, it's like my world will crumble. And it has, that situation in itself has prepared me for motherhood, because being a mom, I'm not sure if you're a mom, being a mom, nothing goes as planned. Like you could say, oh, my child is going to be this kind of child, I'm going to do this, and your kid enters the world and they're like, yeah, no, that's not happening, mom. This is what's happening. My daughter has GERD. She has all these different allergies. So I'm Jamaican. The first thing you try to give your child when they're off age at 6 months is cornmeal porridge. She can't have stuff like that. So now I'm having to pick. Her food chain is very picky. She can't have oatmeal, so she's allergic to different things. So I'm like, oh my God, when she's this age, I'm gonna try her with this. I'm gonna try her with that. And here she is. She can't have all those different things. She's allergic to this, she's allergic to that. And yeah, I can say, yeah, by the time she's this age, I wanted to put her in swimming. She was premature, so her growth spurt isn't as, as a normal child would be of it. She caught up eventually, but that, I had to understand that she's not growing on her regular curve. So I can't put her in swimming at 6 months because she's still at a 4-month, level. So those different things. So it in a sense, it prepared me for motherhood, for being a mom, and it prepared me for change, because I'm not a person who's fond of change. So now I embrace change as they come a little bit better now, and understanding and different things. So it's a blessing in disguise, I guess.
And I mean, if having a baby during the height of COVID, the peak of COVID,
Right.
it changed the way you deal with situations.
Yes, with life in general. Yeah, it did. It did. 100% did. And now I need to be a little bit more flexible. With just knowing that things won't always forever go as planned, and I can't control every single thing. So yeah.
So tell me about what was it like? You couldn't have a lot of people around you as the baby was born. It was just your mom.
So it's like to my apartments and stuff. Sorry, her aunt have her, but she's just trying to come out here. So like my different apartments on like one person. So every time I have to pick like one person, and then they would have to go through with because I was high risk, they would have to go through. They asked for like 3 days of quarantine or something of that sort at the moment. And then at that point it was just me and my mom. My mom's in healthcare, and at one point she had a little spurt at her job. So then I had to I had to be honest and let them know that, hey, this is what's happening. So actually in the middle too, I missed like 2 appointments back to back because she was exposed. And then that's leading me to being exposed because she was exposed. And even in that sense, we tested negative. So I mean, it was rough because it was between my mom and her dad, or my mom and this person, and to make that decision. And even when it came down to like the delivery room, that in itself was a very hard decision. Being I had plans, and but it worked out, the best way it could or should.
So and I hear that, and I hear that you're more accepting of the unpredictable. Do you find yourself believing that in other parts of your life?
Yes, I do now. In certain areas, not everything, but most. Like I said, as far as like just like being a mom, I just realized that things don't always go as planned. By now I thought, okay, I have a 1-year-old. She would be in swimming. She wouldn't be addicted to the TV. Maybe not addicted to TV. She loves TV. Like that's the only thing that calms her mellow. Just different certain things. So I take the pros with the cons and just weigh my options throughout. Other aspects of my life, I mean, for the most part, I'm around being a mom and my business. And of course, becoming a mom, my business had to go on the back burner a little bit. And that took a lot of accepting as well. I thought I would have been able to do it all, but it doesn't work like that. Learning that as well. I'm accepting as I go. So that part I'm still adjusting to, as far as accepting that I can't do it all. But being a mom, I think that's where my main focus at the moment is.
So when you say you're more accepting of what's going on, what does that look like?
It's like I typically would go to the gym after work. I can't do that. I can't do that every day anymore. I know that some evenings I have to come home and spend time with my daughter. We get the first thing we do, we get up in the morning, get dressed, we go drop her to daycare, go to work, come home, is just get ready for bed. So it's like a little routine. Some evenings if I can't do the extra things anymore, I have to say, okay, I can't go to the gym, or I can't work the business, as you know, you should take that day to make time for her. Like tomorrow, I'm off tomorrow. So typically I'm off tomorrow. I would stay up all night tonight, organizing, sorting through, working my business. But I've made the exception to use Wednesday nights to relax. I could sleep in an hour more with her on a Thursday morning, make breakfast from home instead of having her get breakfast at daycare, or do her hair while I'm here. So it's just those little things. Instead of dropping her to daycare at 9 in the morning, I drop her at 11. So, spending a little extra hour or two here or there with her.
And what about the people around you? What about the baby's father, your mom? How did they handle all the chaos?
Better than I did, I must say. Everyone they went with the flow. Not even with just all this chaos, with everything in life. If it doesn't go as planned, I freak out. That's my immediate go-to, is just to freak out. I don't get in, okay, let's fix it mode. Because in the beginning, I made, in my head, it's like, okay, in the beginning, it's going to be perfect, so there's nothing to fix. So when things start to fall apart, I'm the one that's freaking out. Oh my God, what's happening? And then they have to get in fix it mode. I freak out. I can't, that's just what happens all the time. I'm working on it, but something doesn't go as planned. That's just it. But they handle it very well. They get in, okay, what's next? What can we do? This isn't happening here. Just like with the shower, they did a drive-by shower instead. In that moment, I'm like, oh, forget it. It's done. It's over. It's just not gonna happen. And they go outside the box. For me, it's I plan it. It has to go as planned, and that's it.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
Well, you definitely seem in a much better mood.
Yes,
right now.
Because I'm at the point. Yeah, it's like at this point, it's like, what can I do? Mine was after I went on maternity leave to go back to my job. That didn't work out. I was sad a little bit. I was limited for promotion, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I found a different job that I I love even better, because when I sit and I think about it now, if I had the job that I worked at Enterprise, if I had that job, it was so demanding that I wouldn't be able to even do this with you right now. You understand? I would have came home and been so drained from the day. This wouldn't be possible. So I look at it in a sense that I'm at the company, I'm with Public Storage now. It's less hassling of a day. I could come home, I could still do those extra things. Because when I wasn't a mom, I was able to do those extra things, but now I'm a mom. So I have to do those extra things plus be a mom. So when I sit and I think about it, all things work. This it works together for the good, for the greater, something like that. Yeah, it worked together and in the way it was supposed to. So I'm learning and accepting.
Right. So you're taking things one day at a time.
Yes, one day at a time, 100%.
So now let's try this. If you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I think in the entire experience, the thing that really, really shook me the most was those 8 days of not being able to see her and bond with her. I felt like everything else, it's like, not that I forgot it, or I guess I could say in a better way, like forgiven it in a sense, because I don't want to say I don't have that bond with her that I wanted to, because she's attached to me to the hip, but I felt as if, I don't know, maybe it's something in my mind or whatever. I want that skin to skin. I missed out on that. The first 8 days of her being here, she didn't know who I was. So when she came home, she wasn't able to latch on. It was weird. It was different. And she had really, really bad gas and colic. I know that now, but then I thought she wasn't attached to me. I thought she wanted to go back to what she knew for those 8 days. So that took a toll on me. So that's something that if I could change that, that's the only thing I think I would change. Everything else that came with it was a learning experience for me.
So tell me more about the 8 days that you weren't able to bond with her. It sounds like it was the most traumatic part of all this experience.
Oh yeah, for sure the most traumatic part. After finding out that I was COVID positive, and then they allowed me, it was a lot of contradictions in what they were doing, and I was upset. I'm still kind of upset at them for a lot of different things, for a lot of different reasons. They allowed me to hold her. So in the sense, I had on a mask, I had on the gloves, you allowed me to hold her, but you don't allow me to see her. So in my head, it's like, if I'm really positive, she would have contracted it in that moment. Her dad see, but he's seen me. So I would give it to him. He would give it to her. So it was just like none of it made sense. So in that realm, I was upset and sad. And then when I saw that I had to come home, and once I come home, I can't go back. That it took a lot of accepting. The first night was just it was rough. I don't think I slept. I didn't eat in the period of by then, and up until when she came home and everything, I lost like 10 pounds. I wasn't eating, and then my milk started to slow. The milk coming in started to slow down. I was stressed. I was home. I couldn't do anything, so it's not like I could get up and go out. I was recovering from giving birth. This is the moment I'm supposed to be bonding, and I'm here at home looking at her through a screen. She can't do much, so when I have a poor nurse holding a tablet up at her, she's just there. The guilt kicks in. Okay, I'm gonna hang up, and then I call back. Hey, what is she doing? She's 3 days old. She can't do much. So it's just those things, and it's so much that I could do. I could get up, watch TV. That's all that's on my mind. I could call them, see her for a few minutes. So my mind was just running like all the time. The stress levels was up, the depression kicked in. Even it's so bad that even after she came home, the postpartum was still there for a little bit. When I went back for my 6 weeks follow up, they recommended that, that I saw someone. I was in the process of seeing someone anyways. So it was rough. I definitely, I didn't know what the level of toll that they could have with someone, because even like premature, my moms who are preemie moms, and they're like, oh my god, it was rough on them. In my head I was like, yeah, you see the baby every day though, they're where they're supposed to be, but going through it is a whole different. I commend preemie moms whose kids are in the hospital for months on months, because that's some tough stuff. Like it's hard. It is hard. Like, I commend them, because I did it for 8 days and I don't want to go back to that at all whatsoever.
And I definitely hear that. That was the worst part of this whole experience, not being around your baby.
Yeah.
So you brought up a couple times about the postpartum depression. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
So I've always struggled with depression unknowingly, and then it started to, once I joined the business, and just seeing, because I had a miscarriage before this pregnancy, so that miscarriage and then joining that's what led me to join the business, to try to take my mind off of the miscarriage, to try to find something else to do. And then just being there around the people that I'm around, and just different things with one of the leaders and stuff. She struggles with anxiety and depression, and just like different things where she'll like speak openly about stuff. It made me were like, hey, I feel like this sometimes, I feel like that sometimes. I joined the business unknowingly that it was my getaway. And then I spoke to her about just like different things. And she was like, well, she's not a doctor, so she should see someone. And I went through the process of seeing someone, going through their examination, whatever. And, it's mild depression. It wasn't crazy, and just the trauma of of everything. And it's crazy. It's crazy the amount of things that your mind could block from you without knowing that you're doing. And it's a lot. It's a lot that opened the doors and stuff. So becoming pregnant a second time around, I knew that having postpartum, I was more prone or a risk of it. So I made sure to just keep up with certain things. And there's different exercises that definitely does help, surprisingly, like the listening to like the rainfall, just YouTube, just putting on like sleep stuff, different things that actually does work. And just finding your triggers, because I know what my triggers are. So what your triggers are. It's something that you're able to overcome. And a lot of people go through depression, anxiety, all that stuff, and they don't speak about it. And I was one person who didn't like to talk about those things. And becoming pregnant the first time around, going through the postpartum without even knowing I went through the postpartum, going through what I went through. So it's definitely something that I'm on the other side at the moment. And once you know your triggers, you stay away, or the best you can, because you can't always stay away. So yeah.
So you had it before with the first child, and then when the second child happened, you had it again. Do you think COVID made it worse? Or the pandemic made everything worse?
Oh yes, it definitely did, especially with just seeing people pass away in that many numbers, for sure. My best friend, she at the moment of COVID, she worked at Elmhurst. That's where Elmhurst Hospital. That's where the trucks and everything was. The trucks with the bodies and stuff there. And that day, in that moment, when she called me, she was like, this is real. Like, all the trucks, with the bodies, they don't have anywhere to put bodies and stuff like that. And I'm like, it in that moment, I had to just like to take a moment, and it was just like people are just like dropping like flies. out of nowhere when she was in emergency room and she was like just like speaking to her. COVID definitely triggered a lot. Seeing people losing jobs. I was fortunate enough I was in a proper job where they I had a severance package at the end, but just like different people, just like kids not being able to eat or people losing housing. It was like, yeah, I'm not affected directly, but people around you is being affected, and it's an eye opener as well. And I feel like that's another reason too as to why I'm so more, I guess, understanding or accepting to certain things, that in any moment anything else could happen, and that could be it. My life as a friend, a loved one life could just go on in without any warning. So yeah, it definitely did trigger the depression a little bit, but I was working with my counselor throughout the entire pandemic, throughout everything, and my therapist, and she's a solid rock, I tell you that much. We've had some shaky sessions, but we made it. We made it. We made it.
And I mean, it sounds like you made it. You're definitely
for sure. Definitely on the other side. Yeah.
All right, so we're coming to the end here. So what advice would you give for anyone watching who's going through what you went through? What advice would you give?
Just I feel as if we all go through life. It could be me now and someone 2-3 years down the line. Just stay true to who you are, and just know that I promise there is a light at the end of the tunnel. In life, I used to, even like going through everything, my friends were like, it's gonna be okay. I'm like, yeah, okay. There is light at the end. I promise you that. Everything in life is easier said than done. Whatever goals you have, you write them down. That's something that I also never used to do, and in the pandemic and stuff. That's another technique that my therapist gave me, was to write things down, write down goals, just to write something, things just to keep my mind going, to take my mind off things. Writing definitely helped me and helps, and it still helps. I have sticky notes all over, just different things to repeat myself. I don't care. Write down your goals and what are the steps to get to that next goal. What do you have to do? If you have to drink an extra cup of water, write it down. I promise you, it makes a difference. You write your goals down, and then you start to see them come to life. There is light at the end of the tunnel. What you're going through don't last forever. It's not lasting forever. It seems long now, but it's not long. There is better to come, as long as you're working towards what it is that you have to get to, wherever you want to go. Yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for that advice.
Of course.
And I hope you guys are listening, and I hope you guys are taking that great advice. All right. So Jaciann is on a journey to financial freedom while building a state-of-the-art empire to call her own. It's more than just selling jewelry, which is what she does through paparazzi. It's an investment in herself that you get to sit back and watch flourish right in front of her eyes, that she gets to sit back and watch flourish right in front of her eyes. So build the confidence you never knew you had while empowering those around you. That is the lesson that she wants you to learn through her business. This is a life-changing opportunity, and she is beyond delighted that she took the leap. So if you want to get into selling jewelry, so she is someone to reach out to. It completely changed her life, and it's only $5 apparently.
Yep.
And create that residual income and financial freedom. And she achieved that financial freedom, and she's getting that good income, and just by selling jewelry. So if it's something that you want to do for yourself, you want to get into business, you want to make your own rules, have your own schedule. So this is an opportunity for you, and feel free to reach out to Jaciann to coordinate that. So Paparazzi is on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. And the website to learn more about her company is jcaccessories.com. So that website will be provided to you in the bio. All right, you guys. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Please look around our YouTube channel, check out all the clips, and don't forget to subscribe. You could also find us, A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you could also check out our website at www.astepahedtutoringservices.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, and especially on this special episode, number 10. So stay tuned for more episodes. Thank you for joining us. Signing off.
Bye.
Bye.